Welcome, everyone, to another enlightening Ascension Wisdom Conversations. It is brought to you by Galactic Ascension Academy at SheilaTillich.com. Yes, this is the time to awaken and live your soul's mastery. I am a Galactic grandmother, Sheila Tillich, and I invite you to relax and enjoy this time together as we discover our Ascension Wisdom Mastery. As souls, we have entered a higher dimensional reality as humans on planet Earth. This is the new energy consciousness. It has awakened our multidimensional spiritual DNA abilities, which are given to us by our galactic ancestors. Join me, dear ones, as we live at our soul's full potential, live in our wisdom mastery in this ascension time. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ascension Wisdom. And I am your host, Sheila Tillich. And I also have a wonderful soul brother with me, who I've done many videos with, and we're going to do another one today. And his name is Adam Gell. Hello, welcome. Welcome, Adam.
Hi, Sheila. Nice to be here. Nice to speak with you again.
All right. So I love doing these videos with you because we're on the same mindset. We also are living our lives, sharing who we really are. In other words, being really authentic and being transparent.
Yes.
And sometimes it's hard because we have our own issues in our tissues. You know, we're just as human as everybody else. But actually understanding that as we grow and as we live our lives, that we're going through the transformation too. And a lot of times things are happening to us, like what is happening in the US right now with the elections and how all of our lives are changing. But don't you feel that this is exactly what's supposed to happen? Don't you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's very interesting. We come to a turning point in our lives, a time where people will be faced with either rejecting one another or really authentically joining in together with one another, and seeing through the veil of dysfunction, of lies. And really what it is it's I guess, as we spoke a little bit before, it's turning in on our own selves, of really seeing the authenticity within us, what's really true and what's really not. And our ability to be able to squeeze out the parts of ourselves that resonate with things that have gone on, but we no longer could accept it because it's no longer going to hang on to anything. And so since there's nothing to hang on to, we'll be dangling from a string without anything to rescue us, meaning anything in society, in the social media, in the news, and whatever exists outside of ourselves. There'll be nothing to connect with that will make any sense anymore. And I think a lot of people are in that state of trying to find something that resonates with them, and it's going to be a shift. That'll be something new that'll be coming in, and as we're saying right now.
Exactly. Isn't it? It's also like with this shift of consciousness and how society has changed the last 20, 30 years, and spirituality and mediumship and all this other stuff too, and the energy component to it. You know, you and I know about energy, but a lot of other people don't know. But we know how it affects us. And we also know that this is part of the plan of our evolution. All right. So we're all evolving. We're all evolving. And, you know, and as I started sharing in the beginning, I'm not a very political person. You know, my siblings were, but I wasn't, because I didn't want to go into that. Was one of the triggers for my childhood. You know, my parents were very patriotic, and you always thought this way. But if you thought outside of the book, you know, it was an argument, like you weren't good enough, you know, is that you can't talk like that. You have
Right.
to control, you know. So as in what we both share as healers, you know, it's all about our evolution. It's all about looking inside what stops us from growing and then dealing with it, you know, and not being that
Yeah.
victim, not being that victim, you
Yeah.
know.
We,
And
we, we, well, we, yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
No,
You can
I
say,
was going to say we've been taught to be polarized. We've been taught to take a side, to take a party, to take a specific color as opposed to a shade of anything.
right,
And we've been put into that position by society, by the higher ups, by the oligarchs, by the elites, by our parents, as the first stage of narcissism, and that kind of behavior of choosing, like being shamed and ridiculed for having a different point of view.
Exactly.
And having that different point of view creates a sense of tension for people who want to polarize things and keep things under control.
Right.
And now the rug is being shook, and when the rug is being shaken, people are having a hard time of sorting things out because there's a big mess for them. And many of the people, as we mentioned before, for example, for myself in a spiritual community where I was dealing with people who I kind of put a lot of trust in and a lot of confidence in, I wouldn't say to let me down. It brought me to the point of actually learning to use myself as a navigation as opposed to relying upon other people whose views are their own viewpoint from their own childhood, from their own, wounded parts of themselves. And the spiritual community, as we say, could be a perfect place for people to hide and to look like they're doing a good deed or they're spreading a good word. But many times, a lot of people become victims, and they find a community where they can actually drag people down and not uplift people. It's almost a thing that's take care of me, take care of me, take care of me. And once that runs out, those people don't know how to take care of other people. They don't know how to offer insight, because it's a place of, like, an environment of, oh, how can I be rescued? And once I'm no longer anybody can help me, then it's almost like dragging people to their own wounds, as opposed to uplifting.
Yeah, yeah. It's also part of our, dealing with our own fears that are deep inside us, and the things that we. I love the dog. That's good. And the actual things that are deep inside our subconscious, the fears and the anger and the resentment, and where do they come from? And not understanding that this is exactly what our evolution is all about, right? It's about facing those fears. But haven't you found that, as you say, some people in the spiritual realm, and then all of a sudden you see a different side to them, or they're hiding behind the victimization or whatever they represent, and not being real. When you see their flawness in it, and you put them up on a pedestal, and that's what I always say to everybody. For me, don't ever put me on a pedestal, because I'm going to fall. And every
Yeah,
single one of us are on a pedestal in some way or another, our relationships. And it's about not being higher up, it's about being equal, and being united, and that everybody's thoughts and beliefs are important, but what you do with that, right? How you communicate with people. And sometimes
yeah,
people don't have any choice of moving forward. They want to stay in that area, and sometimes you outgrow them, right? It's like it doesn't resonate with you anymore, that part of your life.
yeah,
and and
absolutely.
then and then
Yeah,
how do we.
I was going to say that. Oh, yeah, I wanted to touch upon the point you just made. What's interesting is I think as we go on in our lives and we're looking for help, we try to idolize people. And the reason I think we idolize people is because we throw all of our own responsibility on our own healing process that we can have an active role in into somebody else's lap. And by
Somebody else.
doing that, throwing the ownership into somebody else's lap, putting them in this idolized position, creates always a backlash within, realizing that the person's not perfect, because they can't be perfect, because they have their own issues as well, because they're a human being. But what they can offer is their insight or wisdom from their own personal experiences, from their own healing journey. And then when we understand it from that perspective, then it's a human interaction as opposed to an idolized, godly interaction. And to say, and I mean, I've gone through that as well. I wanted to deal with my healing, but didn't know how to. And then I put my hands and trusted other people, only for me to start finding the disappointments. But everyone has flaws. It's a matter of saying, not idolizing people. It's a matter of saying, does this person resonate with me, or do they not resonate with me? And if they don't, even if they have these qualities, I don't need to deal with them.
Right.
And that's what I've faced. And I think people will always face that. I faced that amongst friends. I know people people don't want to take ownership for their own responsibility. They want to, what do you think? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And then eventually they come to their own conclusion, or life puts us on the path of saying, well, what about your own navigation system? What about relying upon your own word? And rather than putting your hands and trust in someone else so you can blame them if something doesn't work out or it doesn't work out right.
Exactly.
But that's the end. That's that interaction. You know, the other aspect of it is what we mentioned before, where there are people who will really never take responsibility, even in the healing community. Just be there pointing fingers when something sparks, when there's a word said that sparks something from their inner wounds, their inner child. And we touched upon it a little bit before, and maybe I'll discuss this now.
Yeah. Go for
For
it.
me, for example, in terms of not political, but in terms of human beings, the qualities of human beings and the people who represent countries and how they're looked upon and how people can be shamed for understanding certain qualities and naturally not understanding others.
Mm-hmm.
But not, again, understanding the shades that exist for understanding another person, not
Mm-hmm.
polarizing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, Trump, I'll speak about him. From my perspective, I viewed him as a powerful figure before, just when he came into the presidency, first term, and I said, I don't like this guy, and I didn't like the guy because I was unable to work with my own masculinity of the parts of myself that he challenged in me, the
Right.
parts of me that said, "Oh, he's this, he's that, he's this, he's that," and we all have these qualities of good and bad from the people we like and don't like. And so the parts that I didn't want to see, not that I had these qualities in myself, but of course they mirror certain parts of it of someone you may know,
We all do.
but not really know because right. So there's not just one quality. We're made up of many qualities, but it depends who focuses on the worst quality of somebody and brings it to light and puts it in the media or puts it in your face, no matter who it is. And so you focus solely on that. And that's the bad thing. For us not to be able to see the shades of people and the good qualities amongst the mediocre and bad qualities, and then the long-term effect of what something is trying to accomplish or do, all mixed in together is a downfall for us to be able to target people when we don't like parts of ourselves and mirroring in the outside world. So getting back to that, then I understood it as people are we're threatened by the parts of ourselves that we don't want to show other people that we don't like about ourselves. And when somebody's mirroring that back to us, then we see it in our face and we could say, all right, again, getting back to what I just said, that whole thing is that let me see let me not take this at face value, but let me look within myself and see what's being triggered in me that's unresolved. And it's
Exactly.
perfect example because it's a big figure. It's like a parent. It's like a mother or a father who's a narcissist or has sharp qualities. But that doesn't mean that they can't change or refine themselves and you're able to see beyond that. So anyway,
Right.
that was my point on that.
Exactly. 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 And it comes with the wisdom that we have because we've lived it, we've seen it, and we've grown. And a lot of people haven't. And the young people, in my own experience, I see them totally different than what I was brought up with. They have a mind of their own. They have inspiration. They're able to stand in their power like have been taught to. That's where us being healers and understanding being authentic and standing in our power. But the young ones, and it's all about the energy. It's all about our evolution. You know, this paradigm is changing. We are changing.
Yes.
And, we're all one. And looking back at the last 30, 40 years, how society has changed, but also where we're at now. And we were talking about a little bit about the political stuff and about the changes that we know has to be made in our food system, in our school system, in our parenting, in our own evolution. If we're not happy with something, then you have to take the responsibility and do something about it. You can't have somebody else want to be your savior, and live behind, those walls of I'm safe when you really need to face your own fears. And I liked how you talked about Trump, about when way before he got into politics, you didn't like the guy. And most people didn't because he's different, he's unique, just like I'm different and unique. But once I get past that layer and look deep down inside, it's like, yeah, this guy is cool, you know? Just like in the politics, he wasn't a politician, he was a businessman. But he also knew how things
Yeah.
were to work. And I mean, for myself, I have seen so many things not work. It's like, why is it going that way? And a lot of it was the control and the manipulation and, the character assassination and all the things that I didn't want to happen to me. And that it had triggered me. It triggered me, but it triggered me in a good way. It triggered me in a good way to take
Right,
the
right.
responsibility back. And I think that's the new paradigm is that, we all need to stand in our own power and know where that power is, and
I th
it's an
yeah.
inside job. All of it. It's an
I,
inside job.
I think, not to cut you off, I'm sorry.
Oh, go for
I
it.
think that again, as the themes keep recycling and going around in circles, I think
Exactly.
the important aspect is to know that again, it has a lot to do with experiences we've had with our inner child, the
Yes.
child within us. It has so much to do with that. It has so much to do with blanketing and covering up or putting a sheet around the things in the same that will take the same form in a different color or a different shade or a different form. So in other words, if you put on a white blanket, you won't see a face, but it'll be the form of your body. And that shade will be the problem that can be extraneous to what the real problem is, but we see it as that shade, that blanket, not us or what's in us. And so I think we are constantly looking with outside of ourselves and being triggered by things when that inner child is unresolved, so we could see it in the outside world in another form or another shape. And I think the media presents that and gaslights a lot of people
Oh, yeah.
into situations that remind them of things that they've experienced. This is a big campaign of gaslighting,
Oh,
and it's
oh,
been done for centuries. But it's done in every country and it's done in every particular situation. First of all, it was done during COVID
oh,
for us to break down the fabric of a cohesiveness of comfort or safety. And once everybody went scrambling for their own health, for their own safety,
yeah.
everybody became an individual, and nobody had anybody to support them. That was the first attempt, and it was successful insofar as what it did. And then the next attempt, once people are in a state of fear, is to then gaslight them with further things, then to make people dismantle the society of anybody, of a community, of people understanding each other and hanging on to their reptilian, their primordial energy of survival.
Yeah.
And that survival brings you back to childhood. And
Exactly.
childhood is what did I, oh, I'm being triggered. Oh, that, but then in a state of fear, you can't sort out where the trigger is, but you feel it. And
That's
then you
it.
become angry and you lash out. And I think a lot of people who have gone down the rabbit hole of all aspects of the rabbit hole, UFOs, the deep state, understanding how the government has existed and what they've done and how they manipulated things, have created and being labeled a conspiracy theorist is the highest compliment I think somebody can give somebody who's gone down that journey.
Exactly.
Because you understand yourself to be somebody who questions things, not being labeled as irrational, out of control. It's the person, the black sheep in the family who questions the parents when the other children are defending the parents. And that's what we have in the society. We have people defending a dysfunction and other people questioning a dysfunction. People questioning dysfunction are shamed and looked at as lunatics or labeled something really profound so that they become shamed and they shut their mouths because it's challenging the other people to then question the lies that they have lived and question the lies that have existed that they're too scared to challenge themselves with. And
Exactly.
so now we're in a situation where this unveiling and this ascension is taking place to have people who are holding on to the old ways now being told by people like yourself,
Yep.
okay, it's time to now let go. It's safe. And you may have not trusted me in the past because other people shamed me for being somebody that had a higher wisdom and a higher soul's purpose. And I think that's what would the people, that's what's going on now. I think obviously as we speak, the people who've been shamed, who've been the black sheep of a family, questioning things, will still be questioned, and I think society will bang heads further as we go along this year
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because people are still going to hold on to the old paradigm, and those people are going to know that. I'm sure in the back of their mind, especially spiritual people who are amongst the people trying to evolve, are the ones holding on the most. They're the people. What do they say? The more you resist, the more it persists.
Yes.
So the more people are resisting it, the more they're going to be in that anger and that energy.
Exactly, exactly. And the control and manipulation that's been going on for so long, people can't see outside of it because of all the wounds that are inside. Absolutely.
Yeah,
All the,
absolutely. And
all the,
yeah, we have a target. We have the target. The other people to talk. There's other people to be targeted.
right. Exactly, exactly.
It's
And
like it's
go
like a
ahead.
person in a room, I guess, having a melt.
Yes, we are freezing.
No, it's just people having a when you have a meltdown and people are calm. Yeah, it's okay. We unfroze. It's unfrozen now, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I just think people are having meltdowns. The people holding on are having meltdowns.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it good?
I think so. I think it's better now. It keeps going back and forth, but I think we're good. So I think
Okay.
that's just the energy that's here now. We
Okay.
just have to live with the freezing videos and the communication. But that's also shows the grid, the consciousness grid, and why we are here, and understanding it. Also helping other people understand it. That it's okay to have depressed days. It's okay to, go through this, but it's not okay to hurt other people. It's not okay to lash out at other people
Right.
for their own anger. And that's when people get kind of like sideswiped. I've kind of got sideswiped from the people that I thought were, more on this adventure of evolution, understanding it, and then all of a sudden throw something into the monkey wrench. It's like, whoa, they really, that's not very compassionate. That's not very, loving. But that also shows how human we are, right? And about, okay, I understand it, but when they want to close that door, that's their choice, right? It's that choice. And so we, have to just continue to evolve, continue to move on instead of being in that fear and where they are. And it's sad, but it's happening. What I try to look at is, and also teach people, and you know how I am, is, it's all about the healing the past, the inner child, that old stuff that keeps you triggered and keeps you stuck. And now let's turn it around and look at it as an opportunity. Make those obstacles and those challenges as opportunities to change and to be better and to grow. And, we've this whole political, the whole world, not just us, not just us in America, but the whole world is being changed. And it's all part of us, our being real and growing and accepting each other. So I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. And that's what we always say, a little bit of gratitude always changes your attitude if you choose to look at that. But there's some people that are going to stay in that dimension. In other words, the old energy, instead of moving on and understand that this is part of where we need to be in humanity. Something has to change because we've been controlled for so many years, just like in America. Why we like Kennedy is that he's been talking about what we've known in the health industry and stuff, is that things aren't right. Things aren't right. And
Yeah, absolutely.
we need to really look at it and let go of the things that are controlling us. And because it's like um it affects all areas of our lives, our health, our government, and what has happened in the last 4 years since COVID. But it was starting that play out, when Trump first came into play in 16, and way beyond that, way beyond that. So us that lived it, we kind of understand it. And I like to take my cues from the young ones. that are kind of the ones, more on the spectrum, as they call them, or the ones that are more into the higher frequency of, just like Elon Musk, like we talked about a little bit about Elon. He is such an
Yes, yes.
intelligent man, and is here on purpose, to help us. And the election and everything that's come out in the last 4 or 5 years is a big growth for each of us. And to say, no more control, you know, we're taking our power back. And that's what each and every one of us are in the actual more of the paradigm of wanting to move forward,
Yeah.
and to heal. It's all about healing what no longer serves you so that you can have more joy in your life, that you can come from love and compassion. But we all get triggered. We all get triggered because it's still inside us. But that's okay.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
about talking like this. That's why I like this format of conversation. Conversation. Let's talk back and forth. Let's talk back and forth because so many
Absolutely.
of us relate to it.
Yeah, people have to be willing to be able to really look within themselves and not be afraid of being judged. And it's okay to feel alone. It's okay to feel that sense of solitude and aloneness, as long as you feel there's a sense of validity and truth, authenticity to your makeup of who you are. It's difficult. It's funny because for myself, for example, I know from my childhood, challenging systems, my family as a system, the first political system, the family.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You have you have lobbyists working on behalf of the parents,
Yes.
and then you have people protesting the rules and regulations that exist within that house. Whether they can verbally, if not, then they wind up doing something deviant in order to get attention, in order to make people shift their attention away from what they're thinking onto another person to say, I need help. And then people don't get help, like what's happening in society. And then people eventually realize the truth, and more the momentum picks up where people see things. And it may not happen right away, which it didn't, and it doesn't happen in families. It takes many, many, many years. It takes decades before something becomes in the awareness, where people say, or even when people pass on, where messages come through, like you mentioned. And
Yeah,
I've interviewed people myself who said, I remember when you told me about heaven, and I'm here now, and it was exactly what you said. Somebody said that to
exactly.
me. Two people said that to me. So, so it's a matter I think it's a matter of us breaking down the people in power, parents, political figures, of saying, I'm wrong. You can be wrong, and saying, show me the way, and that's strength.
Yes.
That's strength. And so I think the momentum will shift towards us getting people in power who are able to listen to
Yes.
the common person and be able to not deal with power, to have a feminine quality about it that's
Yeah.
coming into the office, a strong feminine that represents humanity, male and female, but
Exactly.
not the wounded feminine coming in a time when people are given the opportunity through specific cracks and agendas push forward to make people feel powerful when they're really not given true power. They're given a sense of false security for a period.
Yeah.
And once they're in that position, then people say, oh, I have the power now. But it's not a true power because it was used on behalf of people in power and using people for power. And then when people in that position, they say, "Oh, I'm on stage now. I'm so powerful now." But then it's taken away because it's not coming into a true femininity. And just as I mentioned before, when the masculine is intimidated by a powerful figure like Trump's personality,
Yeah.
the wounded feminine is also intimidated by a male like him because he represents the male that they have been told or heard could take away their femininity and not respect their femininity.
Right. And
And
take
so
away.
how can I?
That's when their
Yeah. So how
issues
can
are.
I now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, not to say people don't have again their flaws, and it's important to see the flaw to then be able to turn the page and say, "I see your flaw, But here's why I like this person, despite your flaw, because I have a flaw also. We have flaws also, but I have to love myself and like myself despite the flaws. And once we do that within ourselves, then we're able to look outside of ourselves at other people and say, I can like you even if you have flaws.
That's the
Even if you
mirror.
represent, yeah, even if you represent my father who I didn't like, who was like a bully, who was this, I could see the softer side of you because you were wounded as a child, and I can understand and love you and relate to you now. And I personally, Adam, can see that in other people. So then I'm therefore able to see what the true agenda is, as opposed to this temporary energy of what the media and other people's temporary agendas have, which are not going to sustain us in the long run. This is for
Exactly.
the long run. This is for the evolution of what's about to take place. And that's important for us to recognize that people who are both blue collar, spiritual, know their childhood, know their wounds, but can relate to the common person. And I'm not being spiritual means you're better than anyone or you're in the clouds higher than anyone. No, your feet are on the ground, but your head are in the clouds, and you can make a connection to both, and you can relate to the common man. That's what's important, and that's
That
what we're going through right now.
exactly. And the authenticity. And when you hear about authenticity, that is another way of saying it, of knowing yourself, going through it, and also accepting somebody else. And just like the unity, coming together in unity. What is this really all about? And I learned it,
Right.
and I shared this a lot when my brother passed back in 19, that all my loved ones in spirit came to me. And I was, because I can, and I have built my abilities to do this, they came to me and I was just distraught. How do I do this again? Why is this happening again? Just like the inner pain inside coming out. And what they communicated to me is that this is exactly what you're here to do, to help,
Yeah.
help. And when you look at it, I think we've talked about this before too, is that the families that we chose to come into was exactly what we needed to learn. Exactly.
Absolutely.
And that once we cross over, it's all about love. It's not the pain anymore, and that they are always there. And that's what I shared with you before we started talking, is that in the last couple months before the election, I'm not a political person and I don't watch the media. And because I know of the energy, that I don't like the energy, I don't like getting into it. I know it's a lot of control and they have an agenda. And I know that, and I've seen it, and I've worked on getting out of that agenda. But I also know that as my loved ones from spirit communicated with me, it was part of them, you know, uh, saying they're sorry to me for behaviors that happened before, but also for me to be able to continue as a healer and as a teacher and as a mentor to understand what was coming, and to be able to know how to deal with it, how to talk with somebody from the heart to heart, especially when we have all those wounds. We have all those things that are still triggering us, and it was a prime example about everything coming out all at once. Everything's going to change, and how the whole country, changed and flipped, into standing up into, okay, let America speak. The people. It's about the people, and it's about the Constitution, and it's
Right.
about
Right.
this being censored. That's not how America's supposed to be. But we had to go through all that to get to now. And just like Trump being going
Absolutely.
to be now, he had to, those last 4 years had to be happened for us to get to where we are now. It's like, okay, now's the time. And it also correlates with the quantum time period of the 36-year time in the energy change that is happening to all of us. And a lot of people have never been aware of it. However, with us talking about it and kind of educating them that it's all part of the evolution, it's all part of the paradigm shifting and where we're going in humanity. And we're all together. It's happening to all of us. The same with COVID. What was being hid what is the real agenda, just like with the pharmaceuticals and the
Yes.
health industry, and our food system in America is so different from Europe. And why is that? Why is that? So it's all playing out is how it has to evolve. And you are in the health, you're very much into the health and the preservatives and everything that you put into your body.
Yeah, I mean, I was a phys ed teacher for 30 years, over 30 years, and I taught as an adjunct health and nutrition. So for me, finding, we look at conventional medicine as a natural means of healing, and we need that, right? But we
Exactly.
also find holistic approaches towards other types of healing modalities. And for me, I know food, the preservatives and the things that are in the foods, as for example, like in Europe, they don't have some of the preservatives in the same exact cereals. They're different dye, there's different colors, there's different types of preservatives that are taken out in Europe because they won't allow it in here. But yet, there's businesses are selling these products and making a profit off of adding extra ingredients or cheaper ingredients because people aren't questioning things. So I think this is another important aspect as we evolve, that we're having somebody like Kennedy come in and to, with the fire that he experienced of his background, of his family's background, of him investigating certain things that took place in his family, of questioning
Exactly.
things that happened.
Yeah.
It's important. I think there are a lot of people coming in who are doing a lot of questioning. And from my understanding, I find it very difficult to understand how people don't want the people, for example, in a spiritual community who question, who want to evolve. Don't we want people there who are questioning things on our behalf or questioning things that resonate with us?
Uh-huh.
If we had people who were keeping things quiet and saying, no, don't worry, but don't worry about what the study said. Don't worry about what chemicals are in your food. Maybe that would be in line with things that people don't want to shift or change in their lives, where it's saying, you know what, I'm not ready yet. So maybe it's just too much information for me. I'd
Yeah,
rather stick to what my anger and hold on to my anger and hold on to what I knew before.
exactly.
You said also something interesting. You said like coming into this world, the shape of the cog, two cogs moving against each other, grinding against each other. Some are bigger, some are smaller, but we as a soul get caught up in the cog of each mother and father's, energy and what we're supposed to learn from. So, we're going to get squeezed and turned around and moved out and spit out of that cog eventually. And then we're the shape of what we experience from it. And then we have to try to find out, our normalcy or our equilibrium through that. But we have to go through that in order for us to feel each pain from the mother's side, the father's side, and then come out. And but sometimes we don't want to go through that, so we want to get caught in that because we're afraid of the repercussions of what we're going to feel once it stops. Like, what do we do once the pain stops? What do we do once the dysfunction ends? What are we left with if after that? And we're in that stage now because so many revelations are coming forward that we say, oh my God, I'd rather go back into the cog than come out of the cog and feel all this dysfunction.
Yep.
And the spiritual community, again, is the perfect place to hide into once you come out of the cogs and say, take care of me, rescue me, take away the distortions in my body. You can't do that? Then you're not, then I'm going to shame you now because you're supposed to be able to do that. I don't have to take any ownership for my journey or my path. Healing world is like a hospital of spiritualness where people are pure and you have to just not question things, just be healed. And I think that's what we're experiencing.
Yeah. Well, that was the brainwashing that was done to us too. Well, that was how they survived, though. Remember, that's how they survived.
Yeah, survival. Survival.
Yeah, yeah.
Survival.
And so now our survival is changing, but also if we look at it or come from the prospect that it's a good thing instead of a bad thing, and we know it's a good thing
Absolutely.
because we know something has to change. We know it because we feel it in ourselves how we have grown and that we aren't the people that we were 20, 30 years ago. At least for me, I know we're not.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
what is our purpose? It's just like, they always say you come in with a contract. Well, guess what? That contract can be undone. because your soul has choices and it changes and shifts, and I'm very grateful for the lessons I had from my childhood, and there was a lot of healing that needed to be done in my marriage, why our souls came together and why we're not going to finish in this lifetime together. However, it was part of our evolution. It's part of our experiences in this big classroom of life, which we talk about this all the time. The lessons that we learn or unlearn, and how we can use that to expand and evolve into a better place, more joy, more happiness, and people won't do that until they hit their bottom, whatever way it is. And a lot of time it's through the anger, and it's through them not wanting to look at themselves. And that's exactly what's come out now, is like the anger, because we've been so controlled, and the media has always had control over. Think about it, back in,
Yeah.
during Vietnam, what will you do? Sit down and have dinner, and you put on Walter Cronkite, and he shows you, pictures of, the dead and the military and stuff like that. It's like we get desensitized into, no, that's not a good thing to be watching when you're eating, because that's going inside,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
it
Yes.
started a way long time ago, and it's like, this has got to change. This has got to change. So it's a wake-up call for all
It's
of us.
definitely a wake-up call. It's a great time. I think not, you can't tell people what to feel or how to feel, but it's a great time to be able to really look outside of what's going on and say, you know what, there are opportunities here for things to resonate with what I believe in. And there are people who hopefully will shift into that resonance that will create a sense of unity within this earth. And if not, then not, but at least there'll be more people to resonate with and have an understanding, because people definitely, younger generation of people understand it. I was thinking something about the church before, like how the church, how many people I talk about. I didn't grow up religious, but for me, understanding the figures in the biblical terms, or the experiences they had as an adult now, and having had some setbacks and relating to the words of being taught, have enlightened me. Yet somebody who has a bad experience in the church would have the same reaction to the political situation right now and say, oh no, this person represents this to me, or that represents that to me. So they want to shut that down completely, because amongst the teachings of the bad experiences, we have to allow to look past the dysfunctional parts and see the light that shines past it. We can't use it as an excuse. We can't live in that world of being triggered, and we're purposely triggered so as to keep us stuck. And we
Keep us
have to
captive.
find the people, yeah, we have to find the people who are triggered, who trigger us, but yet are also brighter than the triggers, and look past things. Not to forget, but certain things you can't look past. What's happened in the last 4 years. You really can't look past that, especially when we've gone into that rabbit hole of information. So certain things that are happening now resonate with the spiritual community that's at least looking into the world of UFOs, into theories that were labeled conspiracy, or the people who are evolving and shifting the scientific world that goes beyond what we know it to be, and also allowing the feminine, the true feminine, into a political scene.
Exactly.
I mean, so it's a matter of having a whole range of intellectual people that could be threatening to a person like, let's say, Trump, who is an
Oh, it is. It
ego-based
is.
person, but yet strong enough to allow himself to pick a group of people who are offering a skill set and insight into to resonating with people who are evolving. If
Exactly.
people who are evolving said, we'd have a conversation saying, "My God, this is fake and nonsense. It's full of baloney."
Yeah.
But that's what's happened in the last 4 years and years before that. And
Well,
now,
that.
or at least yeah.
No, 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 no. Keep going. Keep going. That's good.
No,
That's that.
we need people who rock the boat. We need people who rock the boat, and it's not the external. It's also the soul of a person that is deeper and more spiritual and more evolved than just this earthly existence that's taking place now. So when we're
Exactly.
looking at people, we're not only looking at them for their form of who they represent or she represents now. We could see beyond that. You could see the soul of the person. You could see the soul. You could see the intention of the person. You could see what's going on. And if you go beyond it, you can see it. And if you
Exactly.
not to convince yourself, but to actually be open, just like you're reading a person and saying, yeah, this person's this way, but they have that in them
Uh-huh.
goes beyond what they're exhibiting.
Yeah, yeah. And people that haven't awakened to any of that, the fear that is so stuck, the old subconscious fears, and now they're being forced to look at it, and they don't like it. And for we as healers and as the people that live more in the metaphysics as far as the energy and what is happening here, to come from the love. It's all about what we started talking about, the authenticity and the transparency, is that there's nothing wrong with be authentic. And a lot of people say they don't even know what authentic means. They know it's a nice word to throw around there, but really it's like, look at the things inside. Look at the things that you don't want to look at, because that's how you grow. Those are the opportunities to change and to use your obstacles as your biggest strengths. That's exactly what
Yeah.
is happening here. And I love conversations like this is because we both live it. We've gone through it. We know we're here on purpose and this is a reason. And sometimes, we can't help some people, but we can help other people. That's the way I look at it. And I'm not going backwards. And just like the US isn't going backwards now, is because the light has been
Right.
shown. It's been shown, the darkness has been shown of the manipulation and the censorship and the control, and that this isn't what America's made out of. It's about our freedom and about who we are, our liberty and justice for all, and that things are
Yes.
not, it's played out exactly how it's supposed to. And to really take a look at themselves, take a look at themselves and say, okay, I was wrong. Because when you say you're wrong and you come from authenticity, you can tell when somebody's apologizing just to get out of the room type, but you also know when somebody's being real and when they're really coming
Yep.
from their soul. And we've talked about that as far as the energy around us, how we know, and that science has known this, but of course it's been censored. What we know and how we live is that there's so much more that's out there, just like the UFOs and the things that's been there and the brainwashing that we've had from it, and I know that a lot of good things are coming and it's all part of the evolution. And many people are
Yeah.
waking up now from the energy that they're feeling. We were talking about that, about the flares, the energy flares, that are coming through and how they're affecting our physical bodies and what does this mean? People are waking up and they're fearful, but they're also, I think, internally, they're going inside. I think internally, because it's a serendipity. We talked about that before, the serendipity and the synchronicity, how their life is lining up. That you have to go forward. You can't go backwards. Just like Trump being elected, and so profoundly, how
Yeah.
the whole country is like they waking up. It's not about persona or the personalities. It's about the policies behind it. What do we need to work on? What do we need to work on? And that it
I
goes right back to each and every one of us. Responsibility
yeah.
for ourselves. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just thought about the feeling of much of the country who's not in agreement with some of the things that maybe I'm speaking of or we're talking about
Right.
will have a reaction of a tantrum like feeling.
Oh yeah.
And I say tantrum like, in other words, there's a sense where, how could you? I don't understand how you think this way.
Well, that's
Or,
that that is like they can't see outside the box. It has to be inside the box. Why does it have to be inside the box? And that's why people are ostracized. and we've done that all right, but that's what we were taught. And
That's
now,
okay. For me, that's okay. Yeah,
yeah,
it's okay.
exactly. And that's the person I want to be with.
I just thought of it. I again, it doesn't matter. We spoke about how it came about and how it takes place, how it's a gaslighting technique
Yes,
used on all of us.
all of us.
It's important that we all see the gaslighting that's taking place.
Hmm.
And just because we benefit from the gaslighting doesn't mean it's beneficial for us. Because once the gaslighting doesn't benefit us any longer, then we're left with creating a sense of solitude, isolation, and we don't have unity.
Exactly.
It's very important for us to share our ideas amongst one another rather than just getting our information from some source using it. It's important to be able to talk to people. It's important for people to be able to share what they're feeling with one another. And yet I have to be honest, I find it difficult to communicate with people who don't agree with some of the things or the philosophy, not the philosophies, the choices of understanding people like who I've met, we've been discussing,
Hmm.
and not overlooking, understanding the flow of people. And it's very challenging to actually feel like it's almost like, yeah, the shaming technique was so strong, the shame, and it's important for the people who feel shamed for having a certain ideology to be able to speak up and know your strength and know who you are and know that people, whether they like you or not, well, that's okay. I like myself, and I can like other people. You meet people and find people who share the same ideology, and then not hurting anyone in the process, and not putting other people down in the process, and not having to just win to support a wounded child aspect of myself to say, I got the lollipop now, I got the cotton candy now. But then, well, once it's eaten and it's spoiled, then what are you left with? So we have to think of the long term, not the short term, and think of everybody and realize, why do you feel this way? Let me hear what you have to say about that. Not let me allow my childhood tantrum that something doesn't agree with me anymore, that I'm going to lash out and I'm going to say you're no good, or I don't like you, or this. And I can feel that. I've dealt with people recently and I
Oh,
felt it exactly. And I
exactly.
said, what? I said to myself, what? I would not never react that way to the other person's
Exactly.
thinking. I may
That's
say I don't agree with it, but I wouldn't be blindly angered or aggressive over a person's ideology. I'll get off and I'll say, I find it hard to believe. That's what I would say to myself afterwards.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't say it to them, really, because there's no point. But the point is that people who are evolving know that, I think, and say that to themselves under their breath, where the other people who you think are in a spiritual say, lash out right away
Exactly.
and don't think twice about that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this was a perfect environment for this to take place. Political, media, everything knew about where we were headed as a society, the breakdown of family, the breakdown of ideologies, and a mixing of all this created a perfect storm for what it's supposed to be. As you mentioned, it's the ascension away from the old into the new. And so here
Right.
we are in this place now with a figure who you'd have to look past and understand to say, okay, yeah, let me trust this. Let me trust this process. It's a matter of trusting a process that I think will benefit us and I feel will evolve us. And
Well,
so,
that's what I felt about 2 months before this all came to a head, is when my loved ones in spirit contacted me, and then when I started seeing that, the hope that came inside me, yes, finally, it's here. It's here. Everything that we've known and what we've been working for is here. And it's just being united, and about all of us being united and come together. What is the good for the planet? Where are we going with the planet?
absolutely.
Planet.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Let's
Yeah.
all let's all get on board and work together. That's the feeling. Let's work together. Let's raise each other up to help other people evolve, to see their weaknesses and say, how can I offer you help? I know you're fragile with certain aspects of yourself and you need a little assistance. I'm not perfect. I have my wounds, but if I can share my wounds with you and you could share your wounds with me, we'll see the human qualities we both share and that we are a human being. You're a human being. I mean, it's easy to say it. It's another thing to do it, but it's the first step in doing it as opposed to just getting angry at somebody.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm going to kind of put that into a personal perspective. What you were just talking about, like in my own involvement, the last 40 years of my own recovery of seeing things about myself and changing about myself, I kind of like went on like in 12 steps programs, okay? I seen and got what I needed and then continued on. And a lot of people have a hard time with that because they're in the box. They don't understand the box. It's like, okay, so let's just move forward. We're all doing our healing in our own way. We're all part of the whole, and the choices that we make, right? Just make it easy. Come from love, and you don't have to, completely believe in what another person's saying or doing, but to be able to relate from love and to be able to have compassion for each other. So that's my take on it right now. And I love these conversations with you
Me too. Me
because
too. Me too.
we just get, this is about being real. This is about being
Yeah.
authentic. A lot of people, they want to tiptoe, towards the politics and all this other stuff that's happening. No, it's like our eyes are open now. Our eyes are open, and thank God they're open because this is the time. And now we have another 5 years. It's going to be really hard because the changes are going to be extreme. They're going to be extreme because it's going to get everybody outside that box of uncomfortability and survival. How do I
Yeah.
survive?
Yeah.
And that's why we're here as healers. We're needed to
Yeah.
help people go through this. And that's why I'm so grateful that I've gone through all that to where I'm at now. And the serendipity part, meeting you, meeting others, how I live my life, how I resonate with certain people and other people I don't. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But we're all doing our part. We're all doing our part.
Yeah. I think as long as we can as long as we can look ourselves in the mirror and have compassion for ourselves,
That's where it starts
then we can
first.
have compassion. Yeah, if we can learn to just like ourselves, then love ourselves, or whatever that means. If we can walk out of the house and say, "I feel your pain because I feel my pain," and not be a victim of it, remain strong in that, but also then with your own wounds help somebody else heal their own wounds. And
Exactly.
it's difficult, but it's like carrying your own weight and then carrying someone else's weight for a period of time. But then it spreads throughout, and it increases the amount of compassion and unity within with the world and with us.
Exactly. Exactly. And I know I need to give it away to keep it. That's
That's
exactly
a
what
good
I
one.
learned in recovery, and that's exactly what you just said too. It's the same thing. And it's the
Yeah,
wisdom that we've learned, right? And it's the wisdom that we have to
yeah.
share. So, this is great. This is great. So, I am just so grateful for you, Adam. And I'm grateful that we've been able to do many videos, and I know we're going to do many more in the future, and that we are needed. I need you. You need me. It's all the unity.
Same here.
It's all the unity. So,
Yep, absolutely.
okay, well, listen, this has been wonderful. And I want to wish you well in the rest of your day. And everyone else, I want to wish you well and thank you for joining this conversation, Ascension Wisdom, with Sheila Tillich and Adam Gell. And we'll see you next time. Bye bye now.
Thank you.
Are you ready to ascend to new heights of consciousness? Are you ready to live your Ascension Wisdom mastery? Dive into the Galactic Ascension Academy, where cosmic wisdom meets spiritual evolution. Unlock premium courses with like-minded seekers. Join a community of awakened souls and experience monthly group healing sessions. Elevate your journey with Star Mother's activations, teachings, and meditations. Join the Galactic Ascension Academy today and awaken the Stardust DNA within you. The cosmic journey starts now.